Okay, so now that the first recording was discussing the origin, trying to make it clear exactly as to why and how Fukushima Ryu manifested, came into being, right? Because all things have a cause. Nothing just takes place for no reason, right? So this Fukushima Ryu has to have a history, has to have a reason for being there, and that reason is essentially the combination of causes. And so, cause and result. So, House of Fukushima and the House of Nojiri produced Fukushima Ryu. So, we will move on. Now, actually, what we'll do now is we will discuss the last scroll in the actual manual. The manual has 4 scrolls, and then at the end there's a 5th scroll. But it's not called 5th scroll, it's called the scroll of the utilizing the creativity of the mind. It's kind of hard to exactly translate the title. It's more like when you see the kanji and you kind of know what it means, but it kind of talks about the mind's creativity and using the mind's creativity, or working the creativity of the mind. And it's literally just called like Fukushima Ryu, mind's creativity, working it, kind of. Anyway, but the point of you'll get it when you when you buy the translation. You know, it'll be in there, and you can see it for yourself. But it's basically you could in a simple term you could call it like, okay, there's 4 scrolls, and then the last scroll is a scroll of the mind. But it's not just called scroll of the mind; it's called scroll of the mind's creativity, or using the creativity of the mind, right? So. Creativity of the mind, a scroll for accessing your mind's the intention of your mind, right? You could say, and actually, to be honest, this isn't exactly what it says, but in English, a good way to translate would be Fukushima Ryu, the scroll of refining your intention. Refining your intention, which would strengthen your mind, or which provides an open channel for the mind's creativity. With the proper intention, the mind blossoms. With the wrong intention, the mind is stunted and becomes stagnant. Right? So Fukushima Ryu, the scroll of refining your intention. And so that's the last scroll in the collection. Now, there's also the annotation. So you have the 4 scrolls, and then this scroll, the refining the intention. So 5 scrolls in the original one, and then you have the annotations, which is like the Kuden. So this isn't the Kuden. We're not even addressing the Kuden during this recording. We're just addressing strictly the 5th scroll of the actual Fukushima Ryu Shinobi no Maki, the fifth scroll. So, and we're going to use Antony Cummins' translation for just as a starting point for ease, and I will make corrections orally, verbally, make corrections where where it's wrong. Well, actually, never mind. He's wrong from the very beginning. No, it's correct. It's just worded funny. It says, his version says, Shinobi no Mono do not only use wondrous magic. However, before they use the magic, they should first utilize the 5 constant factors. That's a very nice way of putting it. The scroll literally says Shinobi no Mono do not use magic in the beginning, right? So this is an important, because this entire scroll is discussing the refining the intention. From the very first line, there's an important lesson. Shinobi no Mono do not use wondrous magic in the beginning. In the beginning, Shinobi should utilize the 5 factors along with wisdom, benevolence, and bravery to carry out their plans and tactics. This is extremely important. So the 5 factors, open up The Art of War and read the first chapter. I want you to go look at the 5 factors. I'm not going to list them out here because you'll just hear it and it'll go in one ear out the other. You need to go to Art of War and do some homework and find the 5 factors. Right? Well, okay, I'll cheat a little. It's like, terrain, general, the Tao, right? Things like that. There's 5 factors. Those 5 factors have to be, it's just like The Art of War. They have to be completely understood and internalized. Then alongside those 5 factors, you need to have wisdom, benevolence, and bravery to carry out your plans. So that's what this line is saying. In the beginning, Shinobi do not use magic. In the beginning, they have to utilize the 5 factors with wisdom, benevolence, and bravery to carry out their tactics. This is a crucially important opening line for a scroll about refining your intention, because from the very beginning it says you have to rely on these basics. There are fundamental principles and fundamental lessons which pervade the entire path. And while this scroll contains all kinds of magic and crazy tools, all of that comes later, and that is not the focus. That is not the foundation. Do not build your train. Do not make wondrous things your foundation. Your foundation must be the 5 factors: wisdom, benevolence, and bravery. And it continues on and says, if you try to obtain a result with only the wondrous things, which the kanji is myo, which means wondrous, profound. It's referring to the magic and to the crazy tools and the crazy techniques. If you try to obtain a result with only wondrous skill, then you become trapped in your own fabrication and you lose your original mind. Now this is really important because there's 2 ways to read this, and they're not conflicting ways to read it. They are complementary ways to read it. The kanji says honshin, which means original mind. Now original mind applies to this, but you can also read original mind as the primal intention or the original intention. That also applies to this. So when you lose honshin, you lose your original mind, which is more in step with losing your psychological balance, losing the clarity of your consciousness, losing access to your Buddha nature, your original mind. Your original mind is clear and is not hindered by doubt and hesitation and fear and inconceptual thoughts and rampant idealization. Your original mind is clarity. You will lose the clarity. You will lose your original mind. Also, you will lose the original intention of Shinobi no Jutsu. Shinobi no Jutsu has a original intention, a original feeling, an original purpose. If you put wondrous things first, not only do you lose the clarity of your own mind, but you also lose the original purpose of Shinobi no Jutsu. So therefore, for Shinobi no Jutsu, is not a path for devious people or psychotic people or people with kind of this crazy mind. Shinobi no Jutsu is a path for people, for I guess you could use the word, the kanji here means honorable or righteous. It's also connected to that idea of a duty, So somebody who has a sense of duty and a sense of righteousness, a sense of honor, it's not some, it's, you have to put the sense of correctness and honor and obligation, before the idea of chasing after wondrous things, right? And then the next line is very difficult to translate into English. So the way that Anthony Cummins has translated it is, Shinobi no mono observe the enemy, and with an element of surprise, they work independently and strike at that which is insubstantial in the dark of night. It sounds really awesome. It's difficult to translate, so we'll just leave it at that. Shinobi no mono observe the enemy, so that right there we know, right? Observe the enemy, reconnaissance, done. An element of surprise. Well, the element of surprise just refers to the fact that the entire purpose of Shinobi no Jutsu is to be hidden, right? That the enemy doesn't know that you are planning and you are spying and you are reconnaissance, whatever that you're gathering reconnaissance. The enemy is not aware, so there's always an element of surprise. At no point should there not be an element of surprise. Surprise is the entire foundation of it. At no point does the enemy know that they are like the target of an espionage plot. So there is always observation and there is always the element of surprise. And working independently doesn't mean exactly that you don't work with other people. It means working independently means working proactively, having the ability. Each shinobi who's on the job, now we're not talking necessarily about low-level people, we're talking about the shinobi no samurai, the actual retainer to the lord who is the shinobi, not the people, not the local recruits, the actual samurai who is on mission. He has to be able to operate independently. He can't always be going back and forth and getting advice and getting help. He has to be able to be dropped in enemy territory and independently create a conspiracy. So observe the enemy, never lose the element of surprise, be able to work independently, and then strike at that which is insubstantial in the dark of night means basically it's just a culmination of everything we've discussed. Strike at the insubstantial. The insubstantial means that the psychology, striking, like when normal warriors attack, they attack with physical blatant weapons and they attack physical blatant targets. This is insubstantial targets, or insubstantial could be translated as formless. These are formless targets. These are the psychology. So you're attacking the psyche, you're attacking sense of comfort, you're attacking a sense of you are attacking the non-physical, non-easily identifiable aspects. So normal warriors attack the physical, shinobi attack the non-physical, the insubstantial. Shinobi attack the psyche. Shinobi attack the feelings of the mind. They attack those things which are not physically substantial. So when shinobi, and then in the dark of night is, not all shinobi work takes place in the dark of night, but it's poetic, and it also is symbolic for the fact that it happens when no one's aware of it. Shinobi no mono observe the enemy, and with the element of surprise they work independently and strike at that which is insubstantial in the dark of night. So they recon, they espionage, they are proactive and independent and capable. That means intelligent and emotionally stable. Capable. Then when I say they're capable, they are emotionally capable, intellectually capable, physically capable, etc., 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 to do this, right? Independently, and strike at the insubstantial means they strike at the heart. They attack the enemy's heart. They attack the enemy's feelings. They attack the enemy's sense of safety. They attack the things which are not physical targets. In the dark of night, and in the dark of night is, on one hand, physically in the middle of the night for like eating, but also yonin, dark of night, is symbolic of the fact that it is unseen and no one knows it's coming. It takes place where no one's looking. And then the last line is, well, the next line, it's not the last line, but the next line is, they contemplate, well, Antony has translated as, they contemplate with fidelity and reach the truth. This is difficult to read because the verse is so short. You can read it as they contemplate with fidelity and reach the truth. You can also read it as they consider, they have the consideration of devoting themselves to the truth. It can also read, they have faith, they have an intuition which is faithful to the truth. It's real hard to read it because, again, it's just like, it's not a grammatical sentence. It's just like kind of kanji, and it can be read any one of these ways is a viable way of reading it. But what you have is this idea of like intention and faith and truth all together, right? So the idea is that there is an intuition to the truth which contains an aspect of faith. So meaning that the shinobi should have faith in his intuition, right? Faith and intuition leads to the truth, or faith in the truth provides you with intuition. And this is important because it's very interesting, because in so many ways there's this entire aspect of falsehood, yet for the shinobi, his faith is to the truth. His faith is to his intuition. So this is an important line, because on one hand, like externally, you're presenting a path of falsehood, a path of mirages, a path of shadows, a path of reflections. But in your own heart, your faith is to truth. Your faith is to intuition. And because your faith is in truth, your intuition will bring you to the truth. So there's this combination of faith, truth, and intuition, which is, so externally is falsehood, internally is all about intuition, faith, and truth. So that's all, and then later we'll discuss some more, but that's the first opening lines of that, the scroll of refining the intention.